So I was studying the book of Zechariah yesterday, and in fact, I was just finishing my study, looking at the last few verses of the book. Now, if you don't know, Zechariah was written about 500 years before Christ was born. It was written at a time when the people of Jerusalem were rebuilding the temple that had been destroyed by the Babylonians generation or two before. And the prophet spends a lot of his book talking about that temple, not just the physical structure there in the city, but he also talks about the temple that is to come, the spiritual temple that the Messiah would create and house his saved people. And so in talking about that, he makes a lot of comparisons and contrasts between the old temple and the new, between the old covenant of Israel and the new covenant that Jesus will bring into existence. And in the course of that, in fact, the very last verse of the chapter and of the whole book itself talks about that spiritual temple and how worship will change as a result of a new temple coming into effect. So notice the last verse of Zechariah 14. It's the last verse of the whole book. The prophet says, "Every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord, and they that sacrifice will come and take of them and seethe," or that word means to cook, "therein. And in that day there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts." So what the prophet is doing here is he is saying, look at these the items that we use in worship to God now in Jerusalem in the Old Testament. They had special bowls that they would use, and the bowls are mentioned in the previous verse. They had bowls that they used to put blood in. They would sprinkle on the altar, the physical altar outside the physical temple. Well, now Zechariah says there's a day coming, and it's the day of the Messiah, the era of Christianity, in which you won't need to go to a special place where there are special bowls filled with blood to throw on an altar. You will have a worship that involves just your own household pots. Like, think about your spaghetti pot that you have under your sink right now. The just your regular old, run-of-the-mill pot. You could use that to worship God. The point of it is Zechariah saying, you don't have to go to a special place where there's a special people that will help you worship God. You don't have to go to Jerusalem, to the temple, to the priests, and then through them offer your worship to God. The day will come in the era of the Messiah, he says, when you will be the priest. And in fact, the temple of God will be in you. 1 Corinthians 3:17. Your body is now the temple of God. His presence is within you. And so you don't have to go to a separate order of priests to go and use their special objects and instruments to bring your worship to God. Now you can be the priest with your body being the temple, and you can offer worship directly to God. And you are a priest if you're a Christian. 1 Peter 2:9. So you're a priest, your body's the temple, and you can offer your own worship. And that's the idea at the end of Zechariah. He's saying, look, we're building this building, this physical structure, this temple, but it's not what's going to matter forever. It's only going to keep us going for a few more hundred years, and then Jesus is going to come. And through him, a new era will dawn, a new way to worship God, when everybody can be their own temple, and they can bring the worship to the Father through Christ on their own. What a wonderful thought, that we get to be our own temples. Think about that. The next time you go worship God, how serious God takes it, because you are his temple.